You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Talk Star Wars is a production of Emotionally 14. For fantastic podcasts, video series, blog posts, and much more, visit us on the web at emotionally14.com and enjoy content for the permanently teenaged. Hello there, and welcome back to Talk Star Wars, episode 179 from Emotionally14.com. I am your host, as always, the Supreme Leader, Rob Wade, and I'm joined, as is so often the case, in I think more the overwhelming majority now, certainly since you started.
Well, since I started, for sure, but I feel there's a bit of a backlog for me to...
Oh, that's true, yeah. I mean, that takes time. I mean, that's patience.
Yeah. Literally.
Brad Hammer-Barnes, hello there.
Hey, I'm the tag to your bink.
Yeah, that works. I mean, that works for me fine, to be honest, because I enjoyed those comics.
Okay.
How you doing? Good?
I'm good. I'm very good. You?
Excellent. Yeah, can't complain.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, beyond the stuff we talk about off air, you know.
yeah. I mean, post-Gen Con news deluge is slowly
dawning on you.
Yeah, I'm looking at the titles that got announced and just kind of going, we're going to have so much to do.
Yeah. Is that from a painting point of view?
And from a enthusiast press point of view as well. But such is the job I have, and I should celebrate its awesomeness rather than worrying about how stressful it is.
Well, why not have both?
Yeah, why not?
You're allowed to, acknowledge that it's
just
a lot of stuff.
Attacks.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, but at the same time, it's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
and that's always nice.
That's it. Yeah. How about yourself? What have you been up to?
Let me think. I've been catching up on a lot of I've basically worked out that my Netflix backlog is just on downloaded shows and films on my device is now down to 40 this week.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been trying to sort of whittle it down quickly. I have this habit of when it comes to watching stuff, I don't do it so much with films, but if I do it with TV shows, if I'm halfway through a train journey and I finish an episode, I won't start a new one. Because I'm going to be halfway through it when I get to the station. But I've kind of thought, you know what? It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go with it and just stick with it and just persevere, and that'll be fine,
Yeah, totally.
So, that's all good. Otherwise, I'm excited because they've talked about, Event Horizon TV series. That's always nice.
Yeah. Is it a remake or a sequel? Do we know anything at all?
I'm not sure. I got the sense from the bits and pieces I skimmed of the article that it was kind of retelling a similar story, or so kind of like a soft remake, I guess.
Okay. It's the style at the moment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very much so. It's kind of like a retelling, but in a long form.
That might work for Event Horizon.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's no reason why not. I'd kind of like them, if they're going to do a remake kind of style, I'd rather they kind of just reboot the crew as well and just go with a completely different set of people rather than trying to recast Weir and Cooper and people like that. I'd rather they just go with it. They might as well just go with a new set at that point if they're going to in for a penny and all that.
Yeah, totally.
It just seems like a no-brainer to me.
If it's a 30 now too, it's just they could spend so much more time on the way there, so much time exploring the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, Event Horizon's great because it's so tight and well-paced, but if they've got the opportunity to explore the timing and the spacing a bit more.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm cautiously intrigued because obviously a lot of these things can go horribly, horribly wrong in comparison to what I... not so much what I expect, but kind of what I would like to see. Yeah. And how they do new stuff. But we'll see. I don't see any reason to be anything other than cautiously optimistic right now. So we'll see how we get on with that. Anything, we'll probably touch briefly on the Gen Con stuff, but anything else kind of caught your eye this week that's been of interest?
No, that's been my life, I think.
All right. Well,
yeah. I'm reading Queen's Shadow at the moment.
Queen's Shadow. Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw a copy of that in Forbidden Planet, local geek enthusiast retailer of choice to my work the other day, when I decided I needed to walk away from my desk and disappear for some short period of time. Also, it coincided nicely with time for lunch. So, I don't literally mean I just walk away from my desk and just stop doing work because reasons.
That was a lot of words to say. It was my lunch break.
Yeah, well, I took the opportunity to, like, sometimes, you go on a lunch break and you're happy to just sit at your desk and maybe watch videos or do a little bit of tidy up work or whatever. But that day I was just like, nope, I need to leave the office. I need to walk away.
I need to not look at you for a while.
Yeah, basically. So I did a bit of that and took a trip to Forbidden Planet. I saw Queen's Shadow and I think they had Thrawn Treason on the shelf as well, which would make sense, right? Because it's been out for a little while now.
I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, there saw a few Star Wars bits. Didn't pick anything up. I was looking particularly for a couple of Batman comics, but they didn't have the ones I wanted in hard copy, so I just decided to... It's stuff I'm reading digitally anyway. A couple of them I just fancied getting physical copies of. So I went having a look, see how much they cost, and couldn't find everything I wanted. So I just decided to leave it for now. I might pop to a slightly smaller, like more independent retailer, because there's one just around the corner. There's one similar distance away in a different direction that's pretty good usually. So give it a go. Orbital Comics, I think they're called. Yeah, Orbital.
Yeah, I know one.
Yeah, they're good. I like them a lot. And I'm sure they appreciate the free shout out.
Yeah.
Exposure.
Shout about us sometimes, just at random customers. That'd be good.
Talk Star Wars. I mean, I do occasionally. It's like, no. But yeah, I mean, you didn't hear us come to talk about stuff that's not Star Wars.
That's not Star Wars.
Clues in the name, right?
Yeah, we are for the big.
We are for the big. So we begin, as we so often do, with a message from our number one Knight of the Commonwealth superfan, Vasuvi, who is kind enough to write in every week and has done so this week. So she writes, thanks, Rob, a.k.a. 2019's most bizarre scurvy risk. Thanks, Brad. How lovely to hear from Mark G on the show again. Well, Vasuvi, if you enjoyed that, spoilers, you're going to have a good time this episode too.
Every episode's a good time.
Well, absolutely, but even more so.
Yeah.
If you're curious as to how Amberlynn Holdo dyes her hair that particular shade of purple,
nope.
Hint, she murders a carnivorous-looking Merogian snap plant. Still no dedicated Wikipedia page for that rapacious flora as yet. Check out the Age of Resistance special comic number 1, The Bridge, in which you'll get another not-so-subtle lesson about underlings learning to trust their superiors.
This is a bold statement, but I don't think there's any part of Star Wars I care about less.
What, the color? How the color of the hair appears? Yeah, not so much purple hair. Okay, fine. That's a choice.
Yeah, but I appreciate the story group filling out that particular aspect of the lore rather than how the Inquisitors fit in with the galactic structure, exactly how the First Order works, or anything that happened pretty much anywhere between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. But I really do appreciate the effort to fill out that really burning trivia that we all needed to hear.
I'm going to sleep easier tonight just for having seen the panel, which she included for our benefit, obviously.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
Again, it's really helpful for me. It's taken years off my life just reading it, just having a skim.
White knuckle ride.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thanks, sequel.
Non-stop. Yeah, non-stop fun. But hey, we get 37 Darth Vader comics a week, so that's cool.
Yeah.
You might also be gratified to know that the 70s installment from CNN's The Movies showed the original Han shooting Greedo scene, and they saved it for very near the end of the episode. Oh, that's cool. Actually, that reminds me, I did watch something Star Wars related this week. I watched the first episode of The Toys That Made Us on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
It was entertaining. It's very... There's a particular style of documentary that's very kind of not overproduced. Actually, maybe kind of the opposite. You'll know what I mean when I say this. Like a super high quality, zero punctuation video in terms of production value.
Yeah, okay.
You know the kind of thing I mean? So you'll be able, if you watch an episode, you'll be able to see exactly what I mean within about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And it's entertaining, and they do a good job of telling the story, and I know more now than I did then, which is, impressive, because I've read quite a few books on that era and watched a few bits and pieces, and obviously, spent a lot of time talking to Mark Airy. He's knowledgeable on the subject too.
It's his thing.
Yeah, and it was a good. Like I say, it's a good episode, entertaining. But it just reminded me because it was a thing about the original movie and the original scenes. It kind of popped back into my head that I actually did the Star Wars thing. That wasn't just enjoying it in my head.
Okay, cool.
Which I've been known to do.
Yeah.
So Vesuvi concludes: be sure to sign your galactic concordance under a Chandrilan tint olive tree.
Oh.
Will do. Vesuvi, Knight of the Commonwealth. P.S. So the PSs are, as always, are just additional emails that I just append.
Okay, yeah.
Since Rob mentioned Stranger Things Season 2, I have since finished it. I'm in agreement that it was fine, but have no fear, Season 3 is way better. And judging from the reactions, by the reactions from YouTube's Blind Wave and the Normies, it seems to be a general consensus. That is the prog band I didn't know I needed. PPS, after this announcement, I'm going to have to adapt the non-vegan selection. So she's included a link to one of the earnings call announcements, or maybe it's just a little side thing. Galaxy's Edge is getting a cookbook. There seems to be a theme of that recently. I don't know if you've noticed that. There seems to be a theme of
get cookbooks.
No, more like Geek Stuff gets cookbooks.
Star Wars has always done it, but I think that's because it's kind of a kiddie thing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously, cookbooks are always good for things like color palettes and stuff, and that goes down well with the kids.
I had the Wookiee cookie one. I had.
Oh yeah.
And I think, in all honesty, it may have been the worst cookbook I've ever seen.
What was it about it that was so egregious?
One of the recipes was for malt milkshakes.
Right.
And the recipe was make the milkshake according to the instructions of the packet, then put some malt on top. It was.
I'm sorry, I know what you mean, but I love it because it's just how to make a milkshake. Step 1, make a milkshake.
Yeah, there was lots of stuff like that in there. It was really, really half butt cheeked. It was just really, really quite bad.
Yeah, it reminds me.
I got rid of it, and now I kind of wish I had it to hand to look up just how awful it was in kind of a literary mystery science theatre. But now I think I've definitely chucked it.
It reminds me of. Have you ever seen that meme where it's like how to draw an owl? Step 1, draw four lines, 2 vertical, 2 horizontal. Step 2, draw 2 triangles at either corner. Yeah. Step 3, draw the rest of the MF and L. It's just draw the rest of the owl, and it's just an elaborate, beautiful kind of, super detailed owl, and it's just hilarious. Makes me laugh. Anyway.
I have to call into the question the practicalities of a vegan Star Wars diet.
The vegan. So the Star Wars, the vegan bit is Vesuvi's own edition. Yeah,
she's adapted to vegan, but that seems. I don't know if that works with Star Wars because for disclosure, I'm not vegan. I'm vegetarian, but I am. So, but I understand the ethics behind it. It's about not exploiting animals or any of their byproducts.
Right.
But the trouble is, in the Star Wars universe, the very cooking utensils you're going to be using are sentient anyway.
That's true. Incidentally, just as an aside...
So unless you're just going to punch a jackfruit, there's literally nothing you can do.
Yeah, which sounds like a weird euphemism, but I know it's not.
It does.
Incidentally, just as an aside, if anybody's listening from The Hollywood Reporter, sort your website out, because all I can see is the picture, and it's a full-page ad that I can't seem to figure out how to get out of. This is obscene. Like I'm so cross with websites when it comes to the way they place ads. It's even worse on mobiles, but this is particularly egregious because I've gone to the link and I'm trying my best, and I get about a second and a half to read the article before this full-page ad blocks absolutely everything. This is horrendous. Anyway, if anybody's listening from Hollywood Reporter, find whoever's responsible for that and just give them a slap. Just gentle. Really you don't have to injure them, but just get the point across, please, because that's ridiculous. Anyway. Nevertheless. So Vesuvi also, for our benefit, included a sample page from the cookbook, and it seems to be gravies and sauces and things you can make as well. It's just they're kind of funky colours and that sort of thing. So that's kind of cool, which is always nice. It's nice when things have got funky colours in the Star Wars universe. I don't know if you know how you get that funky colour of those gravies.
I know this is normal, but just seeing it written out turns my stomach a bit. 2 egg yolks at room temperature.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing wrong with that sentence, yet
eggs are normally at room temperature.
Yeah,
but to have it spelled out like that seems very strange.
It's the fact they had to precise because otherwise people use boiling hot egg yolks or freezing cold ones. So I have to be given specific instructions or it's all going to go wrong. It's going to go horribly, horribly wrong.
One of my favourite and most underrated Cards Against Humanity cards just says hot cheese. And the reason why I find that so funny is it's not molten cheese.
No,
it's just hot cheese.
Yeah, it's warmer than room temperature, but it's not melted.
Yeah,
it is just hot. It is. Yeah, it's a peculiar one. I don't really understand why they felt the need to be so precise about that particular point.
It's not like they did it for everything. It's not like they said 2 teaspoons of salt at room temperature.
That'd be even weirder, wouldn't it? Who put?
Is it America that has to have this stuff spelled out for them?
I don't know. Like maybe they're just. I mean, there's no harm in precision. This is the thing.
No,
but it just, especially in the case of salt, how would you? How would you do it any other way?
Why is this bothering me so much?
I don't know. Yeah, it's an odd... I know, I get what you mean. It's an odd thing to be specific about. Because, like I say, I'm trying to work out what the alternative would be. I mean, Vesuvius...
No. Just below it is 2 tablespoons very cold water. Just to be clear.
Ice.
Not ice.
Not boiling. Not ice. No, not cold.
But... colder than the eggs.
Yes.
That's very important.
That's very
Maybe it's like the cup system. Maybe it's all relative. You've got a pinch, very cold, bloody hot.
Yes.
Room temperature.
Are you having a laugh? Yeah. I'm going to see if I can get the full-size image to see if there's anything similarly excellent. Let's see.
Yield 1 batch. What is that?
1 batch. It's just...
everything's a batch.
Yeah.
If you follow the instructions in a recipe, it's a batch.
Let's see.
It's not going to go, you've made half of what you're supposed to have done.
Yeah. Prep time, 15 minutes. Yield about 1 cup. 1.5 cups. So there's one called Emul sauce. 1.5 cups cold olive oil. You actually have to refrigerate that, presumably. Why would you do that? I don't know. I almost feel like we have to review this.
Temperature obsessed. Use straight away or store in the fridge for several days. Several only. Don't put it in there for 1.
Yeah.
Letting the mixture come to room temperature and blending again before serving. Was he attacked by something at room temperature when he was a child and now has issues over it?
I think we can only infer exactly that.
Yeah.
So I love that each one's got its own little story as well. So
brilliant.
Right, so I'm going to read you. Emul sauce is like the astromech of condiments. See, astromech droids were designed to repair starships, but they can also act as co-pilots, slicers, and even adorable traveling companions. I like the inference that Emul sauce works like that. So Emul sauce was originally designed to repair starships, but it's also delicious.
It's originally designed as just office, but it can just be your friend if you like.
Yeah, so if you want to have just a friend that's sauce, that's all good. Like, that's
next time you
fine.
see someone on the train talking to their Tarama Salata, that's exactly what's happening.
Absolutely. That kind of adaptability is pretty hard to find. Turns out that same level of versatility can be found in this savoury, smooth spread. It's a spread.
What?
It looks like egg wash in the thing. You can use it as a dip, a dressing, or a simple sandwich topping. Incidentally, I'm deliberately overemphasizing
it's one foot. It's giving it an infomercial feel, which I think is intended.
It's apostrophized, so it's definitely... If no one is looking, you can even eat it by the spoonful. I may be a bit skittish.
Just to be clear, if someone is looking... you can still eat it by the spoonful.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like, if you're talking to your dip as your best friend, then
you do you. Like, I may be a bit skittish about letting droids in my kitchen these days, thanks to an incident a ways back involving a couple of corrupt droids whose only appetite was for murder.
All right, Sarah Connor.
But Emul sauce will always be welcome. I wonder, if
Emil Sauce sounds like a background comedian from 90s Saturday Night Live.
starring Emil Sauce. I feel like this has a narrator like and I actually think it might be the chef from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Stir, whip, stir, whip, stir, whip, stir.
Why not? I think it could be.
I don't say this often enough, but has someone thought to check in with America and just make sure everything's okay?
I don't know.
It's okay, because in the American food section of my supermarket, I saw birthday cake flavoured popcorn. And
what?
if I made that, my friends would ask her after me.
That is, but then that would be fair too.
Yeah. So just, we're here to talk to you.
Yeah, I just want to highlight, if you're talking about that time you tried that, all you did was put a birthday cake in the microwave. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, but I did wait for it to come down to room temperature afterwards.
Well, that's just common sense. I mean, you didn't even need to have that specified for you, so I'm very pleased. I've seen birthday cake M&Ms, but I've not seen pizza popcorn.
Is that more or less mental?
I feel like it's stranger. I feel like any flavoured popcorn that's not salt, sweet, or butter is weird.
There's no quite experience like M&M world, is there?
There's not, no. And
it's a really... It's inexplicable.
It is. It's very hard to put into words. Well, I mean, it's easy to put into words, but I don't think you can quite get across what it is from that.
I feel, firstly, it's no one is so enthused about M&Ms that they feel a need to go to a museum / gift shop. Mm. There's very few foodstuffs I'm that passionate about in general. I don't know very few people hate M&Ms.
Yep.
But there's very few people who feel a need to acquire M&M merchandise.
That is, I'd say that's definitely reasonable.
For dividing, it's a really, it's just so, you're being in there and it doesn't feel real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been in there a few times.
It's almost like...
Never feels real.
It's like the New Testament story about Jesus objecting to the commercialisation of the temple, where he goes in and turns all the tables over and throws the money lenders out.
Sorry, let me just strap in. In what way is M&M world like that particular Bible story? All right. I'm strapped in.
It's like he goes in and throws all the money lenders out.
Right.
It's like these prophets of commercialism just went, all right, then we'll go and start our own temple and you won't be invited. And then they set off to a Trocadero and...
Yeah,
that's what it's like. It's like, well, if we do religion minus religion, but do chocolate instead, that's what it feels like. It's a really, really surreal place to be.
It's a very odd place to be. And it's also what concerns me the most about it, and concerns is not a word I should throw around lightly, but it does, is not just that they sell so many products, but that actually the chocolate on which they are based is the overwhelming minority of the products available. Yeah. And bearing in mind, one flaw is just the ability to get lots of them in large volumes.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah. It's a very strange place in general.
Yeah. I think it's just partly because it's just such a limp brand as well. It's not a brand anyone's mad about. It's not like you get people who are really mad for it. I mean, Coca-Cola is a massive brand that people love. M&M's not so much.
No.
But in many ways, Coca-Cola World makes more sense.
Yeah, it's almost like the equivalent, I guess, of in the States having like Mike and Ike Land in... Yeah. I mean, it would have to be a capital because obviously it's London, but... Yeah,
I mean, I'd love there to be a Twinkie ranch where I could go and see herds of Twinkies roaming peacefully across the countryside.
No, I have to stop you there. Just because they're made with gelatin, right? Doesn't mean they're cows.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're beef. They're not in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't eat them, but I do.
No.
Yeah, I figure I'd kill a cow with my bare hands for a Twinkie, so fair enough.
Yeah, ultimately that's fair, I think.
Yeah.
Because actually you make more than one Twinkie surely with that.
That's literally the only animal product I eat because I really like Twinkies when I get my hands on them. And so far, no cow has objected.
That is definitely true. I've been around when you've eaten them and I've not heard a word out of them. So, our next question on that, moving on.
On that room temperature note.
Yeah, moving on from that to our message from, as I alluded to a moment ago, Mark G, who has a follow-up from...
leave if you want.
No, it's fine. We have a follow-up from last week's discussion regarding action figures.
Yeah, okay.
One of my favourite bits we've recorded in some time, and I would heartily recommend that people track down episodes.
I'm fairly confident already it's going to be the end of year clip show one.
I think, to be honest, it might just be the end of year, like the whole episode again. Why not?
Yeah.
Like there are fewer things I think funnier than that particular bit in terms of the stuff. Certainly the stuff we've done in the last few months, I would say. It's probably one of my favourite things we've done. And like I say, I'd heartily recommend people download episode 178 and check it out. Not least of all because downloads is always good, son. So Mark writes, "Hi guys. I was considering The Rise of Skywalker and had a couple of ideas I wanted your opinions on. First, what are the chances Ewan McGregor may have a role in the movie as Obi-Wan Kenobi? Maybe with some CGI modifications to make him look exactly like Alec Guinness in the OT. I'd like to see this. It might fit with the Force Ghost Jamboree I expect to play a part in this film, and it'd be nice to see the original Obi-Wan Kenobi with the portrayal supplied by one of the Obi-Wan actors. Let's do this one first before we move on."
All right. What chances are Ewan McGregor may have a role?
What are the chances, and would you like to see it if they did?
What are the chances? I feel like if they were going to do it, it would have been in the place of Yoda in Last Jedi. And the fact that they didn't indicates to me that they're not going to.
Okay. Do you think he would be up for it if they offered?
Ewan McGregor said several times he would be up for it if it was the right script.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. No, he came back for Force Awakens anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it took him long to do. But
he came in for a line, yeah.
Yeah.
Of dialogue, to be clear. I don't want to get I don't want to get. This is. I'm not in a slander world here. This is not.
No. I think he probably will be back for it. Would he want to be kind of Guy Henry'd over with? I mean, you could just Alec Guinness have a Guy Henry, to be honest.
I think, yeah. I mean, you would. I think you would need to go down that route and kind of make him more of an Alec Guinness type because. I mean, well, having said that, they've undone that, haven't they, with the special editions? Actually, no, with the special, not the special editions, the
Blu-rays.
With the Anakin replacement. Mm-hmm. My initial kind of thing was that you would have to, in order to see a Force Ghost, you would have to see them as they were when you knew them. Because you're not really communing with their ghost, are you? You're kind of communing with their essence in the Force, is my sort of take on it. So it feels like
maybe it's the person who sees them kind of interprets
exactly.
form that they actually physically take.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of how I've always ratified in my head why Obi-Wan starts as a disembodied voice and gets more corporeal as Luke gets stronger with the Force.
They're the only person around who would have known Obi-Wan is Leia.
Yeah, and even then, it would be Alec Guinness as well, right?
Yeah, but are we expecting? So, what role would Obi-Wan fill in this film?
It might just be a Jedi style, well, actually, even less of a Jedi style, the sort of ending montage style appearance. Just for the sake of
glommed onto that, and I'm not sure I like the Force Ghost Jamboree. But
I can see it being a possibility.
What I want isn't important.
Well, no, that's not. That's not fair.
No, it's not. I'm aware of my insignificance.
No, what I think is fair to say. What you want is perfectly important. It's not at the expense of everybody else in the world. If you're the only one who wants it. Yeah. That's kind of how I've always drawn that line.
I'm on Twitter, but I'm not one of those. The Force Ghost Jamboree will have to be done properly. I don't want it to end up being a kick line, you know.
Yeah, or like Jedi, just kind of in there.
Yeah, it feels gimmicky. Anyway, I mean, J. Abrams is a much better writer director than I am, so I'm sure anything he does will be better than I can do. Okay. But I can't conceive of a way it will work. But anyway, that's not really the question that's being asked. So I don't think they're going to use him because they had the window to Last Jedi and for whatever reason chose not to. And I don't know that with the death of Luke, I don't know that Obi-Wan really has a strong enough connection.
Okay,
you've got to bear in mind Leia knew him, but when did she see him?
She didn't.
She knew of him.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason to tie Obi-Wan in at all.
I suppose not. No. I mean,
it's Emperor, isn't it? What's the real connection between?
Yeah, he spoke.
Really.
He had one line of dialogue talking to Rey as a disembodied voice.
Yeah,
and that's his whole thing, right?
Yeah, there's no
his entire interaction.
Yeah, I don't know that Obi-Wan's got much place in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can make it work. I'll be as happy as anyone to see him, but sure. From where I'm standing at the moment, it feels unnecessary.
Does it feel to you? Because it kind of, as you've been describing, as you've been outlining that, and I agree, by the way. I think it's kind of, it would have to be done very, very exceptionally well to kind of make it work. Does it feel like maybe the people who want that the most are the people who see Kenobi as like having some sort of bloodline related? I'm not saying that everybody who wants Kenobi in episode 9 wants that to be the tie, but it sort of feels like that might be one of the reasons it's doing the rounds as a more cromulent thing.
No, I think the bulk of the Obi-Wan obsession is twofold. It's people who grew up with the Clone Wars TV series wanting to see a central character more involved.
Yeah.
And it's people who really, really like the Hello There meme.
I mean, neither one is a bad take, you know? I'm a big fan of the Hello There meme.
Should influence, but I don't know that it should influence the screenplay of episode 9. If the ghost pops up and says hello there, that would be like,
a bit silly. Yeah,
it would be about as silly as the Juggernaut line in X-Men 3.
Yeah, okay. How would they work the hello there meme in a way that you'd approve of?
They couldn't. If Obi-Wan's Force Ghost turns up in, there's 50-50 odds of his opening line being hello there.
I find your lack of imagination disturbing.
Up as well. Yeah, I'm done.
I find your lack of imagination disturbing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture all the different ways it could pop up, and they're all ludicrous.
Hello there. Yeah. Just popping up out of an ATST.
Like Force Ghost Luke comes back and he goes, "Yeah, I didn't come alone. Hello there."
It pops up out of his hood.
Yeah. Now that we're both disembodied ghosts, yeah. I can be his backpack while he runs.
Rey switches on her lightsaber instead of a shimmering blue blade.
I thought you were going to say instead of a noise. Hello there.
Oh God, it's like those god awful memes that ran for ages. Every time the lightsabers touch, it plays Joe Satriani surfing with the aliens.
You shut your whore mouth. Some of those were amazing.
They were all awful.
Some of them were amazing. The Do It one was good. I don't care.
They were a race to the bottom.
That I agree with, but I will contend that this is the hill. This is a hill I will get wounded on. I don't know about dying, but
this is a hill I will take a musket ball on.
The Do It one was amazing.
Okay.
And the Wow Owen Wilson one was entertaining for a few seconds.
for a few seconds. That's it.
I agree that they were a race to the bottom. And at one point, I think I quipped that it would end up that every time the lightsabers touched, it would play the entire Yub Yub song. Had I had more time, I might have made it happen.
Yeah, but, I might have been better at hit film. You know.
Yeah, busy dudes. This is what happens. I do feel like similar to you that it would have to be executed in the most spectacular fashion possible in order to make it work. And I don't see a way of making it work at the moment in a way that I would kind of be like, yeah, cool, nice, I like it.
Yeah, I feel like his story's told.
Yeah, his story's told. He's had influence beyond his physical corporeal form anyway, so... He's already kind of stretched beyond his physical life, and he's performed his role. Yeah. And actually, his role in Episode 7 was Han Solo.
He had his part in the Fall of the Republic and his part in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
that's Obi-Wan's story.
Yeah, and the role he played, like I say, the role he played in Episode 4 was Han Solo in Episode 7.
Yeah,
so they filled that gap.
Yeah,
there was and Luke filled the gap of Yoda in Episode 8 to a point.
If Obi-Wan's going to be in it, it's got to be in a significant role, because it would feel incredibly dismissive just to have him as part of an ensemble kick line.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is going to be a busy bloody film wrapping up all of these threads as is. I don't know. We need to throw Obi-Wan in as well.
No, indeed. I mean, we're already kind of, there's been people banding about the idea of a 4-hour movie. I think they are perhaps not as considerate as they might be of the needs of parents to not have.
We might see 2.5. I don't think we'll see longer, because once they get to 3-4 hours, the marketing department will start talking about splitting it into 2 movies, and they don't want to do that because really Disney has been taught that Star Wars fans don't like Star Wars being treated the same way the MCU is run.
I think, there's certainly evidence to suggest that. I could see 3 at an absolute push, but that would have to be, it'd have to be a good 3. I wouldn't be happy if it was padded out with Thalassar milking. Thalassar milking again, brilliant. Yeah, a Thalassar kick line, even better. Kill me now. Just off the bridge I go. Good-o.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. I would be on the edge of kind of acceptability for me in terms of time scale. And I'm not somebody who's a kind of restricted by some of those things. Like, I don't have children and stuff like that, so that I know of. Yet I'm still conscious of the fact. I mean, part of it's because I have the bladder of an infant, but I even in
I've seen it. It's carb.
Now I think back to it, even in Endgame, there was a point where I had to, nip to the loo, and I hadn't seen that film, and I was engaged with it, and I was, not gripped is a strong word, because that really has to be spectacular to keep me gripped.
Just Constantine, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. But I found that to be, good enough that I was like, no, I still need to go. Part of the problem is, cinema snacks are delicious and available, and so I will partake. That is my want.
Yeah.
So, second,
okay.
Do you think the Skywalker referenced in the title will likely be a Ren-like group? We have Kylo Ren, Master of the Knights of Ren. Might we see Rey Skywalker, Master of the Knights of Skywalker, by the time the credits roll?
I'm not sure how much of a fan I am of that idea, because it's kind of hokey and stupid. But so is Star Wars, so I don't hate it either.
I would say, of all the explanations I've seen so far, in terms of where the Skywalker thing could come from and be a name of a body rather than a person, that's the best one I've seen. Of all the ones I've seen, that's the one that kind of makes the most. Like, it's almost it does feel a little bit Potter, because it's Dumbledore's army again. Yeah. But at the same time, it's the best way of shoehorning it into the film that I've seen of all the ones I've seen presented so far. Could it? I mean, I don't know. I really think the Rise of Skywalker is either going to be. It's about Ben's kind of journey to the absolute power in the galaxy, or it's got some backstory about Anakin and the dark side of the Force, and that's where the Palpatine tie-in comes from.
Yep.
Who's to say? But
yeah, no, I think it's going to be. And if Rey's, I'm not one of these people who gets particularly wound up in any direction about Rey's family. If she ends up being a Skywalker or a Solo, I'm kind of fine with it. If she ends up being someone totally new, I'm fine with that as well. I'm not especially wound up either way.
Yeah. Which is fair enough. As I say, we've agreed to disagree on it many times, but I certainly think that's fair enough.
It is kind of stupid, but Wizards in Space.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a little bit hokey.
Kind of fit. I think it's a possible take. My gut says Rise of Skywalker is Anakin, because all the whole saga has been his story. But that needs to be seen.
I would like to believe that it's, to be honest, I would prefer to believe it's the Anakin story, because that didn't. We've talked about it before, and you expressed it very eloquently in the past. They didn't do enough of that in Episode 8, and they need to it's concluding two things at once, so they need to tie it all together and make it fit in with the overall kind of overarching narrative.
Yep.
Yeah. Mark concludes, great job with the 12 Kenner figures last week. Damn that 5 points of articulation for limiting your options.
I know, Grievous would have been great.
Kindest regards, Mark. He just never sits dejected. You how dare you?
No.
So yeah, that's from Mark. So thank you for that, Mark. Keep it coming. It's always nice to hear from you, and it's always nice to have stuff to chew over, particularly about the Rise of Skywalker, because let's be fair, fans have kind of had to get their own talking points because Lucasfilm aren't exactly forthcoming with them. Nope. In fact, on the subject of Star Wars and that stuff, I heard the latest episode of the Nerd Room podcast, our Commonwealth and E14 buddies, and they had a chat about Star Wars, which was probably one of the best chats I've heard on the subject in some time. Obviously, present company excluded.
Okay.
It was well worth. I'd say it's well worth anybody's time who wants to check it out. It's very, very, very good, and they talk Marvel and DC as well. So what's not to like? So our next email comes from Jared McIntyre, and Jared has a mea culpa, so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Hi, gents. I'm very sorry for the many weeks of turmoil caused by the Kyle Lewis's own grandpa. Just to be clear, I'd like to go on the record to say that the views expressed by that article / Reddit post absolutely do not reflect those of this TSW listener. Well, good. I'm pleased about that. Okay. Hope I can redeem myself with this question. I recently finished the Darth Bane trilogy in audiobook format, which were all great. I also just finished Thrawn Treason, which was also quite fun. Overall, I enjoyed how the books brought Thrawn back into the new canon. So, if Lucasfilm called today to offer TSW a new 3-book deal, how would you two bring the extended story of Darth Bane back into canon? Let's hear the title of each book and the short back cover synopsis of each. The only rules are that you can't use the exact same story / titles, and that the new stories can't totally undermine Palpatine as the biggest of the bads in Sith history. Can't wait to hear your ideas.
I mean, but you literally could just drop them back into the timeline. They don't.
You could.
They're so far back, they don't contravene anything.
No, that's true. They don't, but...
Okay.
You know, there's which bits would you... Let's look at it this way then. Which bits would you... Give them a couple of titles, and then which bits would you keep? And is there anything you'd drop?
Man, it's so long since I've read them, I can't remember anything other than I really, really enjoyed them.
So the first one is basically his training on Korriban.
I think I read that one a couple of times. Yeah, he he kills his dad, escapes his mining planet, goes off to Korriban, which got renamed something else in the new canon. Moribund.
That sounds right. Definitely begins with an M. Moribund. That's it.
Yeah, which is an awful, awful word.
Sad place.
Yeah.
Grotesque.
It's just right. There's an Alan Partridge show where someone writes in and calls his show Moribund, and he spends the entire episode complaining about it. That's all I can think of now that the Korriban's changed names.
Maybe there's a meme in that.
Yeah. I ask you, is this planet Moribund?
So I think the Thrawn books have kind of had some success with one-word titles.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe we could give Darth Bane a kind of some catchy one-word titles, because all of them had slightly, kind of short sentences instead.
Yeah,
so
Path of Destruction.
Yep, Path of Destruction, Rule of Two, and was it Legacy of Evil?
Legacy of Evil sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to double check this actually now I say that, because I'm not entirely convinced by my own. My own thing there, so Darth Bane books. So they're called Path of Destiny.
Path of Destiny?
Path of Destruction, I misread it.
Okay, yeah.
Path of Destruction, Rule of Two, and Dynasty of Evil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just call them Destruction, Rule, and Dynasty.
I feel like maybe I would spend more time, I guess, on the introduction. Maybe the first book's slightly shorter, but it kind of deals with the rise in more depth.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe you just call it Bane Rising is a bit Dark Knight, isn't it?
Yeah, Bane Night Rises.
I think this gives you power over me. And the tiger ate all the food. Yeah, cross jokes there.
I've still never seen it, but, and I know I won't be able to watch it without thinking of your impression of him now.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I won't say it's 100% dead on, but it's pretty close.
Yeah,
it would be closer if I felt the kind of need to do it, or to kind of.
That's a little bit Kylo Ren's cool, sad robot voice.
It's a bit like that, to be honest. They've gone with a similar kind of effect over the top, I think, and it works similarly. I think it works similarly well, and I quite like the Kylo Ren sound.
Someone pointed out to it, Kylo Ren sounds like Marvin the Paranoid Android, and I've been unable to unhear that.
Like an angrier version.
Yeah, slightly.
Like Marvin the Moribund Android.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's the first title.
Yep. Marvin the Moribund Android. Maybe just Moribund. Because it works on several levels.
Yeah, it's not very enthusiastic. It doesn't feel
He's not. Let's be fair. Well, yeah, but let's be fair. Bane is never one for whimsy and good cheer, is he? Did
he have another name, or was he just always called Bane?
Oh, he did.
Galen?
Dessel.
Dessel, that's
Dessel, it, yes. And he lives on Apatros.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need to revisit these.
Yeah, I think I'm overdue a reread of these. So I'm going to have to go back in and check it out, I think. Because these are, I mean, Jared's not wrong. These are top-notch Star Wars books.
And it's in my mind as being one of the best. And there's literally nothing. They're so far back. There's nothing in there which has been overridden by the new canon.
No, indeed. So,
that's not to say it will never be, but for the moment, yeah. I've always said the best way to treat some of the old Republic stuff, certainly, like the Darth Bane stuff, is almost treated like an in-universe legend. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best way to.
Yeah, I sort of feel like that's what they were going for with the legend stuff. It's like it's stories that could have happened, but they're not officially recognized. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in some respects, they never were. So not a huge amount has changed.
I know in Marvel, anything pre the first Fantastic Four comic is supposedly a in-universe story.
Okay, interesting.
So what about, you have like the wartime legends of Namor and Captain America that are kind of based on half-truths.
Yeah. I mean, speaking in kind of broad themes, I would probably make an effort to tie him more heavily into the Mortis arc. Because isn't that the only, is it Mortis? No, it's not Mortis, is it? It is Moribund he appears on.
Yeah.
He appears to Yoda.
The Force Echo, yeah.
Yeah. But maybe having him kind of obsessed with that story to a point of, trying to, I'm not sure what you're trying to do with it because I'm kind of rusty on the Mortis arc anyway.
It's a very weird part of Star Wars I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, it's a particularly kind of odd.
It's very, very wizards and very little space.
Yeah, and
it feels very almost like Michael Moorcock type fantasy. It's which is fine. Yeah. It just doesn't really sit with Star Wars for me.
Yeah. So I would spend a little bit. I would work on his development in the first book, and I would call that. I guess you'd still call it Moribund.
Yeah, it's a perfectly cromulent title.
Yeah, to kind of start, or like Dark Beginnings, or something similarly. Similarly, kind of, explanatory. Really, it doesn't have to be necessarily particularly evocative.
Yeah,
like I say, the Thrawn ones managed to succeed with one word.
Yeah.
So the Bane ones could do the same. Mm-hmm. Bane Origins sounds a little bit too
Bane treason.
Bane
alliances.
Yeah, with nobody. It's kind of the theme of the first book, really. I would definitely. I would like to see him kind of. They'd have to kind of tie him into the other threads that they've used in Clone Wars and Rebels and things, but steer clear of the World Between Worlds, please. I'm not a great fan of that premise. It just feels like I've always kind of been hesitant about time travel as a plot device, just because it's so easy to.
It's just Dave Filoni wanted to save Ahsoka. That's all it's for.
Yeah, I mean, I understand his reasoning. I mean,
I get it, because every book I've ever written, a character I've killed off has got a final reprieve in the last draft. So,
yeah. But I found that when you use the world between worlds, it does jar a bit, because a lot of your stuff's set in like our world, so it's a bit odd, you know. Like when the world between worlds turned up at the end of Vietnam Black, I'm like, what?
He's going to get sued. He's got to stop doing this.
Yeah, he's got to at least call it something else, you pillock. Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah, so I get where he's coming from. If there's a character you really love, it's really hard to kill him off. But I think it would have been stronger if he'd been committed to killing Ahsoka off. And I think it would have given her character arc closure. It would have emboldened Vader. It would have emboldened all of the Ghost crew.
Yeah.
And it's a really lame attempt to she's safe if he wants to bring her again for another series down the line. That's all.
Yeah.
She basically got Corran horned.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't suffer so much from the Corran horn, because, you know, it's kind of what I've termed Michael Stackpole's interest.
Horn,
the Corran horn.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me think. So maybe you have him kind of in a spirit of a trilogy. You kind of see him come up into become a kind of contender, because the Sith is at this point still, I mean, certainly in the Legends, the Sith is massive, and he's whittling it. The whole thing is he's whittling it down.
Yeah.
So I would say that you probably, in my head, you would probably start the Rule of Two stuff slightly later in the series. So so maybe the third one would be about how, would end with him and his apprentice as Rule of Two.
Here's a nice thought.
Okay.
If you read the Darth Maul, it's either the miniseries or the Age of Resistance special, where at the end he kind of goes to a Sith planet and Palpatine says to him, "Oh, this is all the Sith laid waste by the Jedi."
Yeah.
How cool would it be if it wasn't actually the Jedi that laid waste to the Sith and it was Bane?
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, that's
actually what Palpatine either thinks or is lying to Maul about the beginnings of the Sith is actually the seed of her own destruction.
Wow, so that's an interesting thought. I quite like the sound of that a lot, actually, because that lends itself very nicely to a big epic battle that's punctuated by the Yub Yub song, because iPod Shuffle.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite a thing I've experienced when I'm listening to I'm reading books, certainly. Because obviously the audio is busy. Yeah. So I would
Seed of Destruction would be a good title.
Seed of Destruction is a great title. Yeah.
Finally, Darth Bane, room temperature.
That's when you brought him down.
Yeah.
What about like Reckoning or something?
Oh yeah.
As that last thing of when his kind of thing is like he's simultaneously the second book is all about him simultaneously being a thorn in the side of the Jedi and waging war against the Sith.
Yeah, nice.
So he's kind of trying to do a bit of both.
Yeah.
And it's called, the third one maybe is called Reckoning, and the second one is called, what's a good word for thinning out that's not genocide? Because, I mean, let's be fair, a book called Darth Bane Genocide, I feel like it causes more problems than it solves.
Yeah.
Pretty much exclusively. Yeah, I
bought a Star Wars book for Amazon once and had to ring up customer service because you have a normal thing, Prime set will turn up and it doesn't, and you ring up and they give you a free month for Prime. And the guy with customer service phone, so I said, is this for the book Allegiance? I said, I think that's pronounced Allegiance.
And he said, do you want it to turn up or not? Yeah, it's Allegiance. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. Well, so the second book in my head is him whittling down the Sith, and it's basically a bit like an extended version of Dark Disciple in the bit at the beginning when Asajj Ventress is hunting down her quarry. You know, the bit at the beginning when Quinlan Doss is kind of tracking her down, and she's actually kind of on a sort of assassination mission. like an extended version of that. Like he's operating from the shadows. He's not even building up his forces. Quite the opposite. He's kind of very happy to work by himself. He's, maybe he's got a kind of a Sarge Ventress style acolyte who's desperate to be accepted, who wants to be his sort of right hand man. Mm-hmm. And then maybe there is a battle he can't win, and he needs maybe he will win, but the apprentice sort of steps in, makes themselves useful, and ends the battle early when it's kind of advantageous for Bane to do so. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how you end up with him sort of and this apprentice. Mm-hmm. I don't know. These are all thoughts.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. I think all of these things are kind of potential. But I don't know. I say titles. I'm struggling with titles. I'm okay with the premise. I'm sort of feeling the premise, and that would be the titles are where I'm struggling. So reckoning's a cool word. To stick that in there somewhere. And just generally speaking, like you end up with, like I say, you start with that, and you end up with the rule of two. Mm-hmm. At the end of not at the end of the third book, but kind of towards the end of the third book, Bane is kind of established as this force to be reckoned with, and maybe that ties into future Old Republic books that you then write to kind of have Bane occur elsewhere. I forget how Rule of Two ended, to be honest. The Dynasty of Evil, rather.
The last one.
Yeah.
It's kind of left hanging whether Darth Zana has defeated him or he's managed to take over her body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm just reading the Wikipedia about it. It's like there's a fight and it's unclear who's the victor. She says he's gone, but as she speaks, she's continuously like messing with her hand. Mm-hmm. And that's how Bane used to halt his tremors. Yeah. So sort of like, she's picked up some, at best, she's picked up some of his bad habits, and at worst, she's kind of plagued.
It's everyone who came, it's very much like John Carpenter's The Thing. Everyone who came out of the book thought it was an ambiguous ending, apart from Drew Karpyshyn, who thought he'd made it very clear.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Hey, Drew, if you're listening and you want to come back and write some new canon stuff, please do.
By all means, please do. Yeah.
If anyone can do a Krennic trilogy, it's you.
Oh, please do. Please.
Yeah.
Jared, hopefully that answers your question. Maybe if not, let me know let me know ahead of time, and maybe we can spend a bit more time fleshing it out. But that's assuming it's that you didn't just found yourself blown away by that particular discussion. So our last email from the evening comes from Arthur Crouch, who has written in to ask, hello, gents from the States.
We're not.
No, he's from the States.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying, hello, gents from the States.
No. Hello, gents. He's from the States.
Okay, right. Hello, gents from the States.
2 topics for you to discuss. Palpatine has been the discussion a lot on the web. How much do you think he planned from the beginning that applies to the Skywalkers? This could include creating Anakin to putting Padme in power, to putting those two together, and so on throughout the trilogy. How much did he foresee and put into motion, and how much could be the light side fighting back against him? There is just so much the story group could go with, or none of it. If they really want to screw with us, Palpatine was only 38 when Padme was born on his home planet. Make him her father and send us down that rabbit hole.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not. I agree. But I don't think Arthur is suggesting we should do that, but that would be that would qualify as a way to mess with the fans. Certainly, yeah, it would qualify quite admirably for that particular point.
Jackson's brother.
Yeah. So how much do you see them kind of, how much do you see Palpatine as being responsible for?
Creating Anakin, I generally swing with the midichlorian manipulation to create life, whether it was him or Plagueis.
Yeah.
I've kind of swung with that gradually over the years. I don't believe he was responsible in any way for Padme turning up in his life. If anything, I think he would have railed against it because Padme was the good things. in Anakin's life.
I agree to a point. I think that
I think he took advantage of her presence, but I don't think he manipulated it.
No, I don't know. I'd be inclined to. I can kind of go either way on this one because, on the one hand, you're right in the so much as he would, he may have had to work against it, but at the same time, that would be a really good way of sowing discord between him and the Jedi. Is a really good wedge to drive in. Is if he meets somebody and falls in love, the Jedi forbids attachment, then he has to kind of do mental gymnastics in order to get around that, and that causes more mental energy spent than he should have to spend just to do his day job, which essentially is.
I feel there's more happens by accident than by design to bring Padme and Anakin together. I mean, what possible thing could Palpatine have manipulated to make the Queen's yacht need to stop on Tatooine?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, unless, when somebody's about to put the fuel in, he's like, you're full.
There's
no need to check the spark plugs. They never go wrong.
Without giving him godlike battle meditation type powers, which means he can manipulate chaos theory to that level, which I think...
Huge can of worms.
Yeah, let's not go there before he ends up being Han Solo's dad. Let's not go down that route. So there's a lot happens. I think Palpatine is very clever. I think undeniably, he's and if he is capable of putting long range plans like the construction of the clone army, into production, like seeding Order 66 within the battle protocols of the clone troopers. He is capable of making very, very long-term plans. But with that, to me, he is more interesting and more powerful as a character if he is also able to react at relatively short notice and take advantage of opportunities when they're presented, which is what I believe generally. I don't think he was expecting Padme to meet Anakin. And I think the fact he kind of reacted and used her rather than it always being part of his plan actually makes him cleverer.
Okay, so more his ability to improvise.
Yeah,
I guess.
That to me is much more interesting and more intelligent and more powerful than if he did have it all planned out in advance.
Yeah, because obviously the future is always in motion, right? So it suggests that you're not going to be able to plan too heavily for events that far ahead. So the idea of him being able to telegraph the entire span of galactic events is kind of far-fetched, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. So, and then on the Padme as Palpatine's daughter thing, let's not, please.
Let's not do that.
And like I say, I don't think Arthur is suggesting that we do. I think it's just I get
it.
That would do it.
Hyperbole.
Yeah, that is as a method of messing with the fans. That'd do it. There's already enough talk about Rey and whether she has some something to do with Palpatine. So plenty of threads about messing with people. Second topic refers to the end of Return of the Jedi. If Disney could, or if you could, would you have Vader live and be redeemed? If so, would Luke have to fake his father's death and put him in hiding? There could be a lot of interesting stories and adventures associated with this storyline that could have transitioned into episodes 7 to 9. Love the channel and keep up the great work, Arthur. No, I would completely
absolutely not, because there was a Star Wars Infinities line, and I can't remember if it was A New Hope or Jedi, but one of them ended with a redeemed Darth Vader, and he looked like Darth Vader, only brilliant white. He had a white Darth Vader suit and was then going to go and hunt down and destroy the rest of the Empire, and it was the goofiest thing in Star Wars since a ginger kid jumped up on Anakin's pod racer and said, "Let's go play ball." I'm not letting that go. That Star Wars. The What If Star Wars stories, like a lot of Marvel, they weren't Marvel, but like a lot of Marvel What If stories, were brilliant covers, which were then followed by 30 pages of hot mess.
Yeah.
And quite often the reason the trouble with these Marvel What If stories is the reason they didn't go down that way was because the idea was stupid or there was no way to continue it, which is why we ended up with the Prime timeline.
Yeah.
I'm using that term loosely. The Star Wars Infinities line, I'm looking up which one it was because it is. I know it's on Marvel Unlimited because I read it relatively recently. It's bad, guys.
It's one of the things I read when I was doing Marvel Unlimited for sure. I did all the Infinities, and like you say, there's some interesting premises, and they're some of them are kind of fun, but there's nothing in there that I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. That's like
they're
anything
done on
I'd
the
count.
cover that's stretched over another 40 pages.
Yeah, indeed. It's
no, Vader's redemption is sacrificing himself.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Return of the Jedi. Is him sort of thinking about his, something more important than himself in the grand scheme, and also kind of feeling love for somebody or attachment to anybody.
Yeah.
In general. So, the idea of him, I say it raises a lot of questions. He's not going to be able to walk back into galactic politics and just be like, my bad, guys. Yeah, seriously, I feel so terrible. All of those.
You're the All-Iranian Democracy.
Oh, your daddy was what? A rebel soldier on the... Oh, no.
Yeah.
In the Rogue One corridor scene. Yeah, that's... So Brad's just showing me over the camera.
There he goes. Yeah, he's just a brilliant white Darth Vader. Never mind, but he's still got that hideous punched-in kabuki mask. And then anything to actually change his image in the slightest.
Indeed, yeah. It's how best.
I can't even remember what the concept. It's Return of the Jedi Infinities. I can't even remember what the concept of Return of the Jedi. Because I know A New Hope was what if the shot on the Death Star failed.
Yep.
Empire was what if Luke died on Hoth.
Yep.
And I can't for the life of me remember what this Return of the Jedi is. I'm just having to have a quick look.
What if maybe what if Luke got a phone call through to Vader, and
it's the attempt to rescue Han just goes very, very badly.
Oh, okay, that's a weird take to go from. Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. Quite the leap.
Yeah,
to say the least. Very much not one I would be keen to see make the light of day.
Yeah, light side Vader. God. No, she just knows it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arthur. That's it's been done, and it was done badly.
Yeah, and I don't. It sounds. Yeah. I'm gonna temper this so that it doesn't sound too harsh, but I don't trust the story group to do it any better than the people who wrote Infinities. Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't want to say they're bad at their. I don't want to say they're bad at their job because that wouldn't be fair. Ultimately, it's all subjective anyway, and what, in my opinion, matter in the grand scheme. But yeah, I don't trust them to do it any better than the people who wrote Infinities did it, and that wasn't something I was particularly on board with. So,
no, if you have a Marvel Unlimited subscription, then they're worth a reader's curiosity items, but I wouldn't advise parting with any money for them.
No, I think that's as good a review as they're going to get. I think they're entertaining. Yeah, premises that don't necessarily
as part of the bundle, but yeah, don't go out of your way to hunt them down.
Yeah, if you can get them cheap or on a subscription, then do. But otherwise, avoid. So that's all our message this week. So do you want to kind of run us briefly through the bits and pieces for Gen Con? Like obviously, people can watch Fire When Ready if they want depth.
We'll probably rattle on about that the next time we film. Which is not as regular as this show, but it's kind of hard to do it any more regular than we do.
Yeah.
So you'll have to help me remember stuff because I'm not the greatest.
Legion.
Legion, we got more details on Clone Wars releases, including the...
they had some, right? They were selling them.
Yes, they've sold. That's not uncommon to release some first wave stock at Gen Con and then sell the rest of it till release date.
Fair enough. So that means it must be close to release.
Some people are showing off on Facebook groups. I'm hearing September.
I mean, that sounds about right.
Some people saying early, some people saying late, so September on average.
Okay.
The heavy weapons we're getting, the CIS get the grav tanks from the Battle of Naboo.
Nice.
And I think it's the Striker tanks, the Galactic Republic.
Mm-hmm.
are getting. We have the next leaders announced as well. Darth Tyrannus is going to be a leader, and so is Commander Rex.
Oh, cool! That's pretty cool.
Is it? I was surprised we got him so soon.
Oh, I see. But it's cool. I mean, as in, you mean it's cool, but at the same time, it feels like
it's a perfect one character. But I wasn't expecting to get him before we got Anakin.
Yeah.
Before we got Yoda. It's not. I can understand why they're doing it. They're to kind of break it up and not make it all Force users all the time.
Yeah, that's probably the mentality. I guess
it was just a bit of a one I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
I guess we're getting the B2 battle droids as well, and Phase 2 clone troopers, which I think are the ARC troopers. I'm not. I need to revisit Clone Wars stuff. I'm not as up with it as I used to be.
Likewise.
I'm a GCW guy. We got some new Galactic Civil War announcements, including C-3PO and R2-D2.
Okay, nice.
C-3PO looks amazing, because basically all he does is distract people and cause chaos on the battlefield rather than actually being any particular use to you.
Yeah, which I mean you'd expect from a skirmish game. He doesn't strike me as somebody who's going to be really kicking ass and taking names.
I think if you're playing against him, you're going to really hate him. He's a bit like a referee in Blood Bowl. He's just going to stumble around and really mess your day up.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, also, especially if you play the computerized version of Blood Bowl, in which case that is basically constant for me.
Yeah. You don't play Blood Bowl to win. You play because it's funny.
Yeah. I do win occasionally, but I take your point.
We got some more, a second wave of stormtroopers and rebel troopers with extra weapons and extra add-ons, which I think is a nice bit of modelling variation, also a nice way of combating power creep as well.
Yeah, I suppose if you can, make it slightly less. Also, like, it keeps the weapon combinations and stuff from stagnating a bit.
Absolutely, I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The droideckers look fantastic.
I bet they do. Yeah, I can only imagine.
There are 2 unit squad. One of them is one standing up and one rolling. It just looks amazing on the table.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Yeah, the mad people on Facebook and on Board Game Geek are already trying to mod up the translucent shield.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's... if anybody can, it's that group of enthusiasts.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen guys use rod LEDs in place of the lightsabers on Legion stuff.
That's awesome.
It's
the sheer volume of attention to detail. I wish I was that competent.
I love insanity like that. I love that crazy.
Yeah. Good save.
So thank you. Yeah. I love that. Just people who's going to throw themselves in and do totally mad stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably what else did we get?
Any Armada stuff?
We've got 2 new ships announced for Armada.
Okay.
Both kind of fine. There's not ones I'm particularly excited about.
Okay.
I really feel with the Superstar Destroyer, I really feel Armada's kind of played out. For the Galactic Civil War, and I don't know, and I think it is going to be barrel scrapers if they keep making stuff for it.
I think once you've done...
We've had all the Star Destroyers, we've had the Chimera, and now we've got the Executor.
Yeah.
And they announced last year they were going to do Clone Wars Armada. It was a shame we didn't see anything of that, because that would have been something new. That would have been a kick up the backside to rejuvenate Armada.
Yeah.
But I really feel like the Executor is kind of the big finale of what Armada's been leading up to, and to have these come after is just a little bit of a limp follow-up.
I get what you mean. It would be... It's a bit of a hard one. It's a hard act to follow once you've got to that point where, you've got that available on the table. It's hard to release anything that's going to live up to that unless it's spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it is. I feel like Galactic Civil War wise, I think you're probably right. I think we've seen all we're going to see on that. I certainly hope so, because then, like you say, it's going to start being a little bit like, oh well, actually we don't really need these, and I don't even know what these are from. Yeah,
no, it's going to dilute it, and a bit like X-Wing got towards the end of first edition.
I know we've had some. Yeah, I know we've had some X-Wing announcements for X-Wing, mainly cards and stuff, right?
Cards and stuff. I don't keep up with X-Wing because it kind of. I've nothing against it. Nothing against X-Wing. It just kind of went down a path that didn't interest me after a while. If you love and enjoy X-Wing, then that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know enough about it to really comment anymore. I saw the Imperial Raiders getting re-released to a second edition.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
with the ability to play it as the Corvus from Battlefront now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
nice. That's what's the difference between the Corvus and a standard Raider then?
With certainly with Armada, and I think with X-Wing, you get titles, which usually are very, very cheap power-ups to put on a force.
Okay.
And it's just an extra buff.
Gotcha.
I think this one can carry extra.
So you can be extra buff if you're on the Corvus.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that was for Star Wars stuff, wasn't it? Other than that, we were getting very excited about the 2 new Marvel title announced and the new Arkham Horror.
Yes.
As well. So that was what was holding my attention for most of...
Fun times indeed in tabletop land.
Yes, especially as you're as mad for Middle-earth Star Wars and Marvel as I am.
Yeah, no real words in terms of games on the video stuff. That's been quiet again. Yeah.
What is it? It's not Jedi Lost.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Thank you.
It looks cool. I mean, I'm still excited.
Yeah, we're going to get a third Battlefront this year, or is it next year? Probably.
I would think they're probably going to bolster the character stuff they're doing for Battlefront because they seem to be getting really good traction on putting out some really robust content for Battlefront 2. Mm-hmm. I see it more likely that they're probably going to flesh that out a little bit more, and then next year is when they top. Yeah. Because also we're hearing rumblings about new consoles a year or two down the line. So if they're going to do a new Battlefront, it kind of makes sense to tie it into a new generation or the tail end of the existing one and make the physically the most you can out of the hardware.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Eking out every last pixel.
Mm-hmm.
Right, well, unless there are any other Star Wars bits that I've missed, and we had an earnings call that kind of affirmed that Galaxy's Edge has had some attendance stuff, but nothing, no alarm bells. I mean, if Bob Iger's not concerned, I think nobody else needs panic, but it certainly suggests that...
underwhelming is the impression I'm under.
Yeah, and I think, there are a number of reasons which he kind of outlined which contribute to that. Prices increasing around the area kind of at the same time as it happened to open. It's part 1 of 2, so it's not complete in the traditional sense.
Right.
But it was saying of the things that are in, is it Disneyland they're in or Disney World? I forget.
No idea. I think thought they're both the same place for a long time.
Whichever it is, apparently it's the most popular place in there by far. So it is popular within the Disney park. Yeah. It's just that they've not had as many people through the door as they'd have liked. For, as I say, for various reasons. So, but that's fair enough. It happens, right? I mean, my theme park was a disaster in comparison. I'm hardly one to criticize. Yeah. Rob World was just spectacularly bad. I thought about picking up the Jurassic Park theme park builder game. Oh, that's quite fun, actually. I've got a copy on PC. It's all right. It's worth a punt if it's cheap enough. Yeah, but then I thought about the time that I played theme park and proceeded to fill every single inch of the square ground up with toilets. Yes. Yeah, called it Bog World. Mm-hmm. The problem was no one wanted to come in, so I had to put a bouncy castle up the back. Sure. Yeah. Well, it's just silly otherwise. Once there was a bouncy castle, and I do remember theme park. It was a big old bit of land you're given with, and once it wasn't small. All of that up with toilets. Where else do you go from there? It really was a hell of an achievement. Unfortunately, a lot of people were using the toilets, and they required quite a lot of maintenance. Yeah, and at which point my mechanics went on strike. So I figured they were actually doing a decent job. So I gave them the pay increase that they required. They decided this wasn't quite enough and continued to go on strike anyway. The bouncy castle broke down, which then meant because between the bouncy castle breaking down and the toilets not being cleaned, there was quite a lot of raw sewage building up all around Bogworld. Yeah, and it was coming, and people were throwing up in the street from the smell of raw sewage, and vomit on a bouncy castle is just like a proper nightmare. If the Jurassic Park build is really cheap, go for it. Yeah, So there was just eventually, under a complete sea of vomit, Bogworld had to close its doors. And, could they close their doors at that point? But anyway, the moral of the story is I don't know that I should be trusted with Velociraptors. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think I don't think anybody could argue the toss on that one. So on that note, thank you very much for listening to episode 179 of the Talk Star Wars podcast from Emotionally 14. That's emotionally14.com, a website full of weird and wonderful podcast, video series, and written blog piece content. It's a great place for geek stuff, essentially. And Talk Star Wars is just one of the things that's available on there. It's one of our in-house production podcasts. We also endorse a bunch of shows as being not suitable for our listeners, but if you like that, you'll like this kind of recommended stuff. And you can find all that stuff on the web at emotionally14.com or interact with social media at emotionally14 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Brad, if people want to interact with you on social media, where might they do that?
Well, apart from doing this show for Emotionally 14, I do another show for Emotionally 14, which is called Fire When Ready, Adventures in Star Wars Tabletop Gaming, which is us talking about playing, unboxing, reviewing, and generally discussing all forms of Star Wars Tabletop Gaming with a focus on Star Wars Legion, Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Rebellion, and Star Wars Outer Rim. You can find all of those episodes on emotionally14.com and on Emotionally 14's YouTube channel. If you want to keep up, and you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Fire When Ready UK. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, you can add me on Facebook at facebook.com/Brad Harbour Barnes, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RealBradHB. And if you're feeling especially interested, you can buy my books through Audible and Amazon.
Yes, you can. And there is a place on emotionally14.com which is called Team E14, and Brad's picture is on there. And there's little links. You can go there and you can buy the books that way. And it doesn't cost you any extra, and it puts a few pennies in both Brad and Emotionally 14's coffers. Speaking of ways to support...
It's the best type of coffer.
Absolutely. Speaking of ways to support Emotionally 14, one of the ways you can do that is by subscribing to the Talk Star Wars Patreon, which is available for just $1 a month or whatever you care to donate. And in return, you get the Talk Star Wars podcast ad-free on a separate feed that's available through Patreon. And you get it a couple of days earlier than the standard release. The standard release is on Monday UK time, and then on a Saturday UK time, Talk Star Wars patrons are enjoying the Talk Star Wars podcast. And like I say, it's completely ad-free on the Patreon. That's our way of saying thanks.
Nice.
Yeah. If you want to follow what I'm doing on social media, you can do so by subscribing on Twitter or Instagram at Rob Wade Vision. And also Talk Star Wars has Twitter and Instagram and Facebook pages that you can also subscribe, join, or follow. We are also part of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network, which is 8 wonderful outfits, all with a Star Wars bent in some form. In addition to Talk Star Wars, it also includes the Tumbling Saber, Generation X-Wing, the Nerd Room, the Rogue Squadron, the San Diego Sabres Radio Podcast, Retro Inc., and the Sandcrawler Cast with Dan and Mike. 8 wonderful outlets, well worth your time, and they've all got, at least one show. Some of them have 2 or 3. Some of them work far too hard for their own good, and I can only assure them that one day it will catch up. That is all for this week. So thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars episode 179. We will see you next week for episode 180. In the meantime, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and as always, may the Force be with you.